Hey guys, welcome back to the show. As you can see, I've finally had some time to do a proper intro. It's been a while since I did one of these, but I'm really excited for this next project. I'm finally getting started on my new display board, which will double as just a piece of terrain for Legions Imperialis. This is going to be the start of my Hive City board, so let's check it out. Alright, so to start, I found this Matchbox rescue boat toy at a local thrift store, and when I saw it I was just kind of blown away by all the really cool bits and pieces that it's got on it. There's all these like bridges and ramps and a helicopter landing pad, and all of these are just the perfect scale and they look really good. They're already got these great textures that I can totally work with and use in my new project. So I thought, for $6, you can't really go wrong. I'm definitely going to have to pull this thing apart and utilize all these pieces just here and there in my build. And so, yeah, this was, I was really excited to find this and start tearing it apart. Yeah, so that was the first thing, kind of inspecting it and seeing kind of where I need to make cuts and what I need to take apart. So that's the boat. And now before, I had to be, a couple months ago when I had to kind of stop making videos for a while, I had to put all of my stuff in storage. And so one of the first things that I need to do now is just go back in there into the storage shed, try to find all the boxes and bits that I have, and just kind of sort everything out and kind of get everything ready so that I can get this project going. So yeah, as you can see, I've got like all kinds of weird stuff in here. There's Warcry terrain, old miniatures, lots of different things. So yeah, let's get all that stuff brought into the house, and then I can start, sorting through it. So yeah, this was a little bit of a process, having to fish all that stuff out of the shed and kind of go through everything and see what was where. And like in this box, it's a bunch of 3D printed terrain that I had started working on, but and I'll get back to that eventually. But that's not what I'm working on now. And then I also found some really cool stuff in some of these boxes. Like here's like some old sprues, random plastic card bits. And these sprues we'll come back to later because I'm going to use those for another project. And now in this box, this is actually a lot of the extra Civitas bits that I'd already from previous terrain projects. There's also some stuff in here for that I'll probably work on much later in the year when I go back to working on Horus Heresy stuff. And then of course the obligatory pile of sprues. This pile of Civitas sprues. And then in here I found a lot more some more 30k scale terrain, which I don't need that right now, but I do want to definitely get it sorted out and set it aside so that I can work on those projects another time later this year. And then there's some stuff in here that I can definitely use for this project, so I want to make sure I have all that and know exactly where all that is. And then this box, oh my gosh, there's so much just weird random stuff in here. Old Rhino sprues, old terrain sprues. Yeah, just a bunch of random bits and bobs that I've collected over the years. Definitely some fun stuff in there that I can use for this project. Oh, and now this is really exciting. This is going to be for another project also later on, so a little bit of a sneak peek of what's coming eventually. I'm not sure if I'll keep that in the video yet or not, but it's nice to know that I have some of the sprues and things that I'll need for that project when it does come around. And then of course foam, styrofoam bits, lots of foam, and the actual base for the board itself. It's a 2 foot by 2 foot piece of particle board and a 2 by 2 piece of blue insulation foam. That's going to be the main part. And then what I need to do here though is make sure that it actually fits on my shelf. So it can't really It can't be more than basically like 26 inches, but it's 24 inches anyway, so that's fine. But it's also, it can't be more than 12 inches deep. So what I'm going to do here is measure out the foam and the board and cut them both down to 1 foot by 2 foot pieces. Now cutting the foam is actually, this part's super easy, just measure it, mark it, and then I can just go in and cut it with a razor blade. I'm using my T-square to make sure that that's nice and straight. I don't have an extended blade, so I'm gonna have to cut it on this side, flip it over, and then cut it again from the other side in order to get all the way through that foam. Yeah, those are done and they're both fitting together. They came out exactly the same size, which is great. Now there's a couple ways that I can cut this particle board down to size. I can use a table saw, or I can use the method I'm going to use here, which is to just cut it with a razor blade. Now this is a little bit of a tedious process and takes a bit longer because you have to score it quite a few times. I'm somewhere like probably around like 10 to 20 times. But I figured if I were to use a table saw, I'm likely to I don't really have a very fine blade. Most of my blades are pretty wide, so I would probably end up cutting it down smaller than I want it to be. Whereas by using the razor blade to just score it a bunch of times, I can get it really precise and keep it the same size. But now, once it's done, you can see like some of the edging is it's a little bit frayed here and there. And some of it was a little bit beat up just from having been in storage and whatnot. So the next step was just to take that out to the back porch and just kind of sand all that down with the Dremel to get a nice smooth edge along all four sides of both of those sheets of particle board. And then you can't really see it too much here, but I am wearing a ventilator mask just to try to avoid breathing in all of that particulate and dust that gets sprayed into the air while I'm sanding it. The last step on that is just going to be to wipe that down with a wet rag to get all of that dust and particulate off. And then once that's dry, now I'm going to go ahead and put those back together and just kind of start setting up my layout, kind of see where everything should go, kind of how I want everything to fit together. I had done this previously well over a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago now. And so I had a picture of it on my phone, but a lot of those foam pieces that I had used previously, I don't have anymore because I'd used them for other projects. So right here, I'm just kind of seeing if I can use any of these pieces. Take a quick break. Grab a beer and then now it's off to the drawing board. So I figured, probably one of the best things that I could do at this point is going to be to just go ahead and just kind of draw like a sort of top-down view of the layout, and taking the picture that I had from the layout that I had previously done, just kind of map out where I want all the buildings and things to be, levels, bridges, walkways, and ramps, and that kind of thing, so that I kind of get a clearer idea of where everything's going to sit, and then I can kind of measure out what I actually do need to build. And then here I'm just kind of measuring the little ramps so I can kind of see where that's all going to fit into my schematic. And now this next step, this ended up being a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. Initially, I thought, oh, you know what, I'll just go in with a screwdriver and take out all these screws from the bottom, but the holes on the bottom from the screwdriver are not quite wide enough for my Phillips screwdriver, so I went in with my little screwdriver, but then the screws were too tight. I didn't want to break my little screwdriver, so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to take it out back and break it apart. Even that ended up being harder than I thought it was going to be, and I was not able to do very much damage with my tools back there at this point. So what I did end up doing was just pulling some of the pieces off my hand from the top. And then because some of the plastic it's a different plastic material than what we used to working with for like say the plastic models that we use. It's a bit more, I don't know, I guess malleable kind of. It's sort of like a rubbery texture to it. And so for some of that, I was able to just cut it with clippers and then just break things off here and there with a screwdriver. So yeah, I'm really liking the texture of this, and I think that piece in particular is going to make a really good bridge. Yeah, now once I got this piece off, these screws were really easy to get out, which was nice. And some of these pieces are just really have some really great textures on them, and I'm really excited to use those for some of my buildings. These little ones on the back here, I just ended up just clipping them off. Initially, I thought maybe I would keep the metal rods in there and make them so that they would still swivel, but I think ultimately I'll just glue them in place. And now for this last part, I've been kind of dreading this because there's so many screws here and I have to go through and clip all of these off. But that's not really going to take too long. It's just a tedious process, but it does give you, it is kind of meditative. It can be a very relaxing process where you're just going to go through and you have some time to be in your head and think about sort of, okay, how am I going to use all of these pieces? Especially those there's these pillar pieces that go along the sides that kind of go in between each of the Civitas wall pieces. I end up with so many of those, and I've been thinking about that for a while, and I think I'll be able to use those to seamlessly kind of merge using the foam for structures by just creating small divots with the razor blade and then using those pillar pieces to fill in those and gaps in the foam. And then I think that'll help blend the foam with the plastic bits really nicely. Because one of the things about the Civitas wall pieces is they all have a little bit of a edge to the back of them, so they won't sit flush against the foam when I go to glue them on the foam. So they'll kind of stick out a little bit. And so I think what I'm going to do in order to mitigate that is just use smaller pieces of foam to kind of put in between those where as needed. And then I think that will help to blend in the plastic with the foam when I set about making those buildings. One of the other things that I noticed while I was clipping these is that they only come with, there's really only 4 of the flying buttress pieces on each sprue. Found that very interesting. I hadn't realized that before. I'll have to use some careful planning to decide when and where to use those pieces in particular because they only have a finite amount. So yeah, just keeping everything nice and separate, everything sorted out, and yeah, more sprues. I still have a whole nother stack of sprues here that need clipping. But you know, it's all part of the process, and when I do go to use these, I'm still gonna have to clean off the little edges where I've clipped them from the sprue, make sure that everything fits together nice and seamless. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I am a little bit bummed not really able to end this one with a more complete idea of sort of where the project is heading. This is more just me getting everything ready, which I think is fine. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done before the project can really start in earnest. So this is all of that process. And I think on the next video, that's going to be really exciting because I'll be building the structures and getting everything laid out better. And we'll have a much better look at sort of where the project's heading at that point. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.